what does it mean for you when you say working with ancestors?
I think the thing for me is that I started with family constellations. That was my main training before I went into the African traditions. Interestingly enough, I found constellation work because I had been told that I was called to become an ancestral practitioner through the African traditions. But I never found it, it sort of didn't feel right for me as a white South African with European lineage to sort of go fully into an African tradition. So when I discovered constellation work, that was really an exciting moment for me, because I realized that this is a way to work with ancestors that feels more in line with my own ancestral lineage and with my own knowledge lineage, having trained in systems therapy and also, you know, trained in systems theory. So I think, and also having German ancestors. So I have German ancestors as well. So it felt like it was more of a fit in terms of my own ancestors. So most of my work has been in the last 18 or 19 years with ancestors through family constellations. But in the last years, I also realized that there are aspects of the African tradition that I really resonate with. Partly also the dance, and which is something that is also done by ancestral practitioners in African traditions. And also, as I said, these different ancestors, not just the family ancestors, and how do we include them? And I think a lot of people have, by going into nature constellations and working particularly with war and peace, and not just with families. So sort of looking at the bigger ancestral family. So for me, working with them has been mostly in constellations, but I do also have my own private or personal practice, I would say. So what that includes is actually addressing my ancestors and working with them on a personal level regularly, that I keep the channels of communication open and that I have them as a resource and support. So when I go into my constellation work, it's not just with the constellation philosophy and focus. It has a lot of support and resource from that connection that I developed through other practices, which are really my spiritual practices that are based in the African traditions.
So ancestral practice is part of your personal practice as well, right?
Yes.
So it's a spiritual practice, personal spiritual practice that you do as well.
Look, I do believe that when one's working with family constellations and with any kind of ancestral work, primarily you need to do your own work. If you're not in a good place with your own ancestors and with your own family lineage, then it's really actually almost dangerous to work with other people's ancestors, because there's a lot that you receive from your own practice with your ancestors, and if it isn't clean and clear, I've noticed that people struggle. They struggle with illnesses. They struggle with their energy levels. I personally feel that having some form of ancestral spiritual practice is kind of a prerequisite to stay healthy as a constellations practitioner. Especially, I mean, in my case, I work all day with it. I've been working all day with it every day for almost 17, 18 years. And I'm very aware of the potential for burnout, for fatigue, for illnesses. I've seen a lot of facilitators struggle, and so yes, that self-care. If you're working in ancestral fields, you need to do your self-care in ancestral fields as well. That is very clear for me. Yeah.